The moment her hand hit my face, the entire room went silent. Not the normal kind of silence, the kind that feels like the air itself stopped breathing. I didn't even move. I just stood there, feeling the sting on my cheek spread slowly like fire under my skin. And then I smiled, because in that exact moment, my sister had no idea. She had just made the biggest mistake of her life. And what she didn't know was that everything she thought she controlled was already slipping away. But the real question is, why did I smile instead of reacting? My name is Danielle, and from the outside, my family looked perfect. A big house in a quiet neighborhood, Sunday dinners, laughter and photos, and parents who always said, "We're proud of both our children." But what cameras don't capture is what happens when the doors close. My sister, Melissa, she was the golden child. Straight A's, perfect reputation. Everyone in our extended family admired her like she was some kind of success story. And me? I was the opposite. Not a failure, but invisible. The kind of person who sits at the table, but nobody really sees. My father used to say, "Learn from your sister." My mother would sigh and say, "Why can't you be more like her?" And slowly, I stopped trying to compete. Not because I gave up, but because I started noticing something strange. Melissa wasn't as perfect as everyone believed. But what exactly was wrong with Melissa that no one else could see? It started small. Missing money from my mother's purse. Arguments she always somehow won. Situations where I knew the truth, but somehow I always ended up being the one blamed. And every time I tried to speak up, Melissa would smile softly and say, "I think Danielle misunderstood." And just like that, I became the problem. But I wasn't stupid. I started watching, listening, waiting, and what I discovered changed everything. Because the truth I was about to uncover didn't make any sense at first. One evening, I came home earlier than usual. The house was too quiet, too controlled. I walked past the living room when I heard her voice. Melissa. But she wasn't talking to my parents. She was on the phone. And what I heard next made my stomach drop. Numbers, transactions, names of people I didn't recognize. And then she said something I'll never forget. "Don't worry, they still think I'm the perfect one. No one will ever believe Danielle anyway." I froze. My hand was still on the doorframe. My heart was pounding so hard I thought she might hear it. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't just favoritism. This was control. And I was part of her game. But the biggest shock wasn't what she said. It was what she was hiding behind it. That night, I didn't confront her. I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I started collecting everything. Screenshots, receipts, conversations. Bank records I wasn't supposed to access, but had quietly observed over weeks. And slowly, the picture became clear. Melissa wasn't just manipulating family opinions. She was hiding something much bigger. Money transfers tied to accounts my parents didn't even know existed. And worse, she was setting me up to take the blame if anything ever came out. But I didn't react, because I knew something she didn't. Truth doesn't explode immediately. It builds pressure until it destroys everything at once. And that pressure was about to reach its breaking point. It happened at a family gathering. About 20 people, relatives, family friends, everyone smiling, eating, laughing. The perfect stage. And Melissa? She was glowing, playing the perfect daughter again. Until my father stood up and said, "We have something to discuss about the finances." I felt her eyes shift toward me immediately. Sharp, warning, and then the accusation started. Confusion at first, then questions, then my name. Somehow, everything started pointing toward me. Missing funds, misplaced documents, suspicious access logs, and I understood instantly. She was doing it, right now, in real time, framing me. I looked at her, and she didn't even look nervous. She looked confident, like she had already won, but what she didn't realize was that I had already prepared for this moment. I tried to speak, but before I could even open my mouth, she stepped forward and slapped me hard, in front of everyone. Gasps filled the room. My mother covered her mouth. My father stood frozen, and Melissa, she leaned in slightly and whispered so only I could hear, "You should have stayed quiet." The room didn't move. Everyone was waiting for me to react, to break, to shout, to defend myself. But I didn't. I just looked at her, calm, still, and something inside me shifted. Because she thought that slap ended everything. But in reality, it started it. And what happened next, no one in that room was ready for. What Melissa didn't realize was that I had already sent everything, not just to my parents, but to someone she never expected, an external auditor my father had hired weeks ago, without telling her. And every document, Every transfer, every hidden account, had already been verified. The truth wasn't coming. It was already here. I slowly wiped my cheek and said one sentence. Check your email. Silence. Confusion. Her expression shifted for the first time. Just slightly, not fear yet, but uncertainty. And that was enough, because uncertainty is where everything begins to fall apart. My father's phone buzzed. Once, then again. He opened it, and I watched his face change in real time. Confusion, shock, anger, disbelief. He looked up at Melissa, then at me, then back at the phone. Explain this, he said. His voice was low, dangerously calm. The room shifted instantly. Melissa tried to laugh, a fake nervous laugh, but it cracked halfway through. I don't know what she's talking about, she said, pointing at me. But this time, no one believed her instantly. Not anymore, because the truth was already spreading through every phone in that room. Screens glowing, messages loading, evidence opening, and I just stood there, watching, quiet. For the first time in years, I wasn't invisible, but the final breakdown was still coming. My father stepped back. He couldn't even look at her properly anymore. What did you do? He asked again. This time, his voice broke slightly, and that's when Melissa realized something terrifying. There was no more control. No more story she could spin. No more perfect image to hide behind. Just truth. Raw, unfiltered, exposed. She turned to me. For the first time, not confident, but scared. And she whispered, You did this? I shook my head slowly. No, I said. You did. And that final sentence destroyed everything she had left.